Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Another request coming straight out the DMs on my IG, and once again, I appreciate all the ideas that you guys be feeding to me, because without you and without the interaction part of this show, I would have to be spending a whole lot of time trying to think of a lot of different ideas. But this one right here, the 10 most common reasons why people get arrested and end up in prison. Now, this ain't somewhere you're going to be able to find through a Google search. This is just from observation, experience, and knowledge after living in this world for so long. But a lot of people want to know, like, is it brilliant police work or is it just a whole lot of stupidity? Well, it's probably a little bit of both. I think it's just a simple fact that some people are just God-given morons. They're just straight stupid. And they don't learn from their mistakes, and it's a definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. So we're going to go ahead and get into these 10 right here, and I'm going to give you a little breakdown, little insight into it, and maybe even give you some firsthand observations in some of these things. So let's start with number 1. The most obvious one that there is, tattletales, snitches, co-defendants, things like that. The number 1 reason. You would think that every detective in the police department is like Inspector Gadget, Dragnet, and Get Smart all rolled into one. Probably a bad analogy. But yeah, you would think that there's a whole lot of brainiacs like CSI Miami or some shit like that figuring out these crimes, but it's not. It's usually a snitch. It's usually almost all the time a snitch or a co-defendant that got caught doing something stupid, or a co-defendant that you got caught with and they just couldn't hold their mud. They started singing in there like if it was American Idol the minute they sat down. They didn't even take a seat. And they're already chewing into that Snickers bar and they're just singing. I mean, I could tell you from firsthand experience that I've been told on I don't know how many times. There was actually even a case that I didn't even do nothing on. Way back in the day, man, we're talking 98 when this happened. I had this guy and his old lady over, not going to say his name. You already know the policy of Prison Break Raw. We don't throw people's names out there, regardless of if they did some foul shit or not, unless, of course, we're making an example out of them, right? Then we throw their names out. But other than that, yeah, we don't do that to people. So this guy and his old lady come over to my house. They're sitting in my garage. They're happy that she's pregnant. I'm happy for them. Just so happened that my homegirl worked up at the Taco Bell, and I had a whole refrigerator full of burritos and tacos and chalupas and everything else. I just drive through the drive-thru and, say it's me, and I could pull up right up to the window and a big bag full of food would come out. And so I had it like that back then. So there it is. I'm like, oh, you know what? You guys hungry? I'm going to make you some food. Throw a whole bunch of shit in the microwave, came back out, went open my garage door, and he's got a needle stuck in her arm. I'm throwing back like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, hold on a second. I almost got him. I'm like, get the hell out of here with that shit, man. Aren't you pregnant? You should be ashamed of yourself. I kicked them both out of there. They're like, well, we don't have a ride. You're our ride. And I'm like, well, I'll get you a ride. Let me go call my cousin. I went in the house to call my cousin. And this girl comes running outside of my apartment, opens the door. Oh, we got a ride. Bye. And took off. Well, I didn't think anything of it until dude's mom called me, whining and crying and complaining, saying that I gave them a stolen car. And I'm like, lady, I don't know what you're talking about. I started to feel weird, like I was being recorded. You gave them those keys. You gave them those kind of keys, those jiggler keys. And right away, I knew something was wrong. I thought I was being recorded. I hung up the phone, unplugged the cord from the wall, told my dad, don't answer that phone. Couple days goes by. I'm sitting in my garage, and I noticed there was an interesting, peculiar character sitting in a van down at the end of the driveway. Here comes my lady. She pulls up right at the same time. And I told her, you see that guy down there? She goes, yeah, I was just going to say, that's a cop. And I'm like, well, get out of here, something like that. And just, I don't know if they're watching me or watching somebody else. There's a lot of goings-ons in this apartment complex. Let me just tell you that right now. So she takes off. Next thing you know, a few minutes goes by, some long-haired, dirty, oily, dirty clothes-looking guy comes walking up with a bag talking about, hey, you got any aluminum cans? And I'm like, yeah, there's some over here. And he's like shaking them out, shaking the soda out and everything and throwing them in his bags and stuff. And I said, hey, Usually I throw a big bag of cans out over by that tree just for the first person that's coming by doing what you do. You know, I like to support the hustle, so they'll be over there if you want to grab them, usually by the end of the week. He's like, all right, man, cool, thanks. A few minutes goes by, I go to the back of my garage, I'm getting ready to grab my backpack and everything and leave. I get surrounded by the PD. Shoot me with a stun gun, they go digging around in my garage. They didn't find nothing but a beat-up old bench grinder that didn't even have a power cord hooked up to it. But it had a plaque on it that said property of such and such, didn't have any serial numbers on it. They called that business, found out it was a business that was shut down, but then got a hold of the guy that owned it. This is the police work part. Got a hold of the guy that used to own that business, said, yeah, a bunch of my tools were stolen about 15 years ago. They charged me with receiving stolen property. Ain't that a bitch? Receiving stolen property. And then I'm reading the police report, I'm reading the paperwork, right? And it says a guy and a girl were pulled over in a stolen car in the city of Anaheim because it was the city of Anaheim PD that went 3 cities over on the county line of Orange and Los Angeles County to do this raid, which was weird. But because I was on parole, they can do that. So they said a guy and a girl got pulled over in a stolen car, and they said that I had guns and ammunition and that I was duplicating keys in this garage. And another interesting point in that witness testimony, the informant testimony, they called it a confidential informant, by the way, is it was a female saying, I never would have gotten into a stolen car if I knew it was stolen. I'm pregnant. Yeah, you were pregnant, but you were jabbing a needle in your arm just hours before you obviously got busted. So there it is, the number one reason right there. People that can't keep their freaking mouths shut. People get busted that way. It's just the way it is. Another one, and this one I can tell you from firsthand experience, if you remember my story of when the car ran out of gas and there was the cop. Wrong place at the wrong time is the number 2 one I got on the list. And yes, you've already heard that story, but I could tell you another wrong place at the wrong time that happened to me was the fact that I was driving around in a car with my buddy. This was back in 96 when this happened. A little homie from a neighborhood called Peaceful. Me and him were together and he had a strap and he couldn't figure out how to take the safety off or get the clip out. He's like, what do I say? Well, just wait till I pull over, man. I'm not going to be leaning over looking at it while you're holding a freaking strap and I'm driving down the freeway. He's like, oh, I think I got it. Boom! Shoots a fucking bullet hole right through my windshield. I'm like, oh, shit. It was almost like that scene off of Pulp Fiction when they blew that dude Marvin's head off in the back seat. I was the same way. I was like, holy shit. Freaked out, man. Hair standing up. Eyes were wide open. I was wide awake. I didn't even need no drugs. That's how much it threw me off. And dude's just sitting there looking at it and looking at me. And he's just a little tiny skinny dude with a big ass piece, man. Big old fucking bullet hole in my windshield. You know? Stupid ass me. I keep, my buddy he has a glazier shop. He has a place where he does auto glass. Bring it in, man. I'll throw a windshield in for you, $50. All right. I kept putting it off. I go pick this dude up. He's going to look around. He's going to do what's called hinking. Stealing trucks, stealing tool trucks and stuff like that from companies, commercial trucks, and driving them out. And they would chop them all up, sell the parts, sell the trucks, whatnot. So I decided to take this dude out for a couple of rounds. He put gas in my car. I was bored. I had nothing to do. I'm busting a right. There's a cop sitting at the gas station, and he's like, oh, there's a cop right there. I go, was he in the car? I don't see anybody in there. Well, this cop was coming out of the gas station, out of the 7-Eleven or AM/PM, and as we were turning, it was a female cop, seen my windshield with the bullet hole in it. So we drive up a little ways, go about a few blocks down, and dude finds a truck. He's like, I'm going to get this one. All right, I pulled up onto the side of it. Just was the plan, as it normally happens. Here comes a set of headlights. I said, hey, man, a car's coming. He drops the Slim Jim, and is trying to find it, looking around the ground, can't find it because it's dark out there. I said, just get in, let's go. So he gets in, and we drive. I take a right, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror like, if I see them lights coming, then I know it's a cop. Like the old video I told you about. It was always my way. Boom. Hit that corner. It was a cop. And it's on, man. I just take off. I hit it. I floor it. I'm gone. I take off running. Then we can refer back to number 1 because this guy froze up and surrendered in the car. I'm out there on foot. I'm dumping my strap. I'm dumping all kinds of other illegals that are in my pockets and everything. IDs and all kinds of shit. And I'm up in a tree. About an hour or two goes by or something like that. I hear the helicopter. Jason Rutherford, we know who you are. You can't get out. We had the area surrounded and all that. I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. So I'm up in this tree. I figure all I got to do is just wait till morning. They'll be gone. I mean, how hard are they going to be looking for me for trying to break into a truck? I mean, they got the dude that was doing it, the passenger. I mean, they'll look for me for a few more hours and then they'll go away. They don't really know what I was wearing because it was dark. So there it is. I'm sitting up in a tree at a house. Next thing you know, the porch light goes on. And I see a little poodle coming running out of the house. And I'm frozen, man. I'm not trying to move. Because I know this dog, if this dog sees me, his dog's going to start barking. So I'm just looking straight ahead. I'm not moving. I could feel this dog below me. And then I lost sight of it, and I seen a poodle walking in front of me, so I figured, okay, the poodle moved on, and I started to shift, and that other little dog was down there. There was two of them. So now I'm trying to get out of the tree, and this owner's like, who's up there? Hey, hey, and I fell down on the ground and sprinted across his backyard, ran onto the street. It was a cul-de-sac, went to jump the wall, and right before I hit that wall, canine got me. Wrong place, wrong time. So that's number 2 right there. Number 3. Same thing as wrong place, wrong time, only reverse. Police, right place for them, wrong place for you. Just like that. You could be in the middle of a crime, and I got a buddy who was actually robbing a liquor store. Come running out of that place, gun in hand, money in his hand like that, runs right through the doors, and there's 2 cops going in there, looking to get some coffee. So you already know right off the rip, it's the right place for them. It's definitely the wrong place for him. So that one right there would be number 3. Number 4, gotta check your witnesses. If you're ever doing any kind of dirt, you better be aware of what's going on around you at all times, looking up in windows or anything like that. If you're gonna off somebody, or you're gonna steal a car, or you're gonna break into something or do anything like that, anything hinky, you better be looking around because there's always somebody watching. I don't know why it is, but there's always somebody watching. It's like, me personally, I got windows all around my house. Rarely do I ever peek out them unless I hear a sound outside. Then I'll look out. But you got people that'll actually sit there at the window and just stare out the window. Could be an old lady or something like that, and that's her scared to go outside the house. So she's staring out the window, and guess what? Here comes old fucking Itchy and Scratchy pulling up to steal her neighbor's car. Of course she's going to call 911. You got to watch your witnesses. Not only that, you could be in the middle of doing something. You could stomp some dude out. You could turn around. There's a guy standing right there walking his dog. This is that simple. Witnesses will get you caught up every single time. Number 5, speaking of witnesses, this kind of coincides with number 4, is your family members or your spouse turns you in. Yes, happens more often than you think. Your family member or your spouse will turn you in. It just so happens that one of my cousins had experienced this very thing, right? Him and his brother goes to do some dirt, and the girl that was involved in it, like they didn't want to break her off with whatever money the guy that did a burglary or some shit, she decides to go ahead and calls the cops and turns them in. Another one that I saw that was pretty interesting when I was in the prison system, a bank robber, right? Guess how he got caught? He was robbing all kinds of banks. They had no clue who this dude was. They had no leads, nothing. He could have stopped, and they never would have caught him. Because it's not like the movies where they're scraping the crime scene for evidence and all that. It's a bank robbery. The only evidence they got is a videotape and a car that drives away. But if it's a stolen car, or they got rid of that car, or they got stolen plates on there or something like that, unless somebody's walking out of that bank or walking into the bank the minute you're running out with all the money and they know who you are, and they testify to that, you're going to get away with it, man. Most of the times why them banks are FDIC insured, because of that very thing, because it's very hard to catch somebody in a bank robbery outside of a witness or an anonymous caller, a crime stopper, a concerned citizen, or whatever you want to call them, will call them and turn your ass in for the reward. This gentleman got turned in by his own brother. By his own brother. And he was actually giving a lot of this money to his brother to help his brother's kid fight leukemia. When his brother asked, well, where's all this money coming from? He said, I just want to let you know I'm that bank robber. His brother went right away and turned him in for the reward. That's how scandalous that shit is. But that's what money does to people, man. It corrupts absolutely, man. It's just like power. Just like power. Number 6, competition. Competition's a good one. It's a good indicator of not everybody's on the up and up. And you don't know who's slanging dope in your neighborhood where you're slanging dope. So imagine, you're selling dope, this dude over here selling dope, and this broad over here selling dope with all her kids running around dirty as fuck. And all three of you are competing for the clientele in the neighborhood. You're like freaking Walmart versus Target. You're like Jack in the Box, Burger King, and Carl's Jr. all on the same block. Right? Only this is the criminal world. So the difference is there's a possibility that one of those two out of the three could call the cops and turn you in just to get rid of your ass. Get rid of the competition. It happens more often than you think. And now with this influx of all these S&Y people running around, these S&Y gang members and shit coming out of the system, don't be surprised if it doesn't happen more often than it ever has before. When you got 2-5ers and Northern Riders and all these things selling dope in your neighborhood because anybody that's supplying them don't care what they are. They just want their money. Don't be surprised if they don't call their friendly neighborhood police officer, peace officer, and turn your ass in. Got to watch that competition, man. It's a real motherfucker. Number 7, piss poor planning. Always piss poor planning. If you don't plan everything through all the way through, and it's just a spur of the moment, you might as well just go turn yourself in. You might as well hoop a whole bunch of tobacco and drugs and everything like that. Make sure you have cash because you don't want to be broke once you hit the county jail. Piss poor planning will get you caught up every single time. I mean, I don't need to give you an example of that. I'm pretty sure some of yous out there got some examples of your own. All right. Number 8 out of all this, and then we're going to get into number 9, leaving evidence behind. Anything at all. I mean, you already know if you got a hot one that you're being caught up for, that you're being basically indicted for, you could have flicked the cigarette out. It's that simple. Your lips that were on the cigarette, your DNA's all over that evidence. Evidence that's left behind in a crime scene, fingerprints, blood droplets, hair. There's been people that have dropped their phones, wallets behind at a crime scene. Bam, next thing you know, they are up in there. Number 9, and this should be like one of the main motivators for people getting busted, is drug use. If you're high as a fucking kite, you're high as giraffe pussy, running around all spun the fuck out, or you're gouged back and scratching and itching and just on one, and you need to get well, your mind ain't firing on all cylinders at that point. So if you're not firing on all cylinders, you're going to be making a whole lot of mistakes. And when you're making a whole lot of mistakes, guess what? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 all can go in line with number 9. Finally, number 10 is more of the lesser reasons that you'll hear about with just a simple Google search. I mean, I even read one where a woman wanted to go to jail just so she could quit smoking. There's another one is you can get free health care. And there's even one for the homeless, which it's a free hot, 3 free hots, and a cot. It's off the streets. It's out of the cold. So those all lump into number 10. And these are the reasons why people get arrested. To a greater or lesser degree of all of them. But the one where the broad just wanted to quit smoking, I mean, I guess she never tried Chantix. I guess she never tried hypnosis, or maybe just putting herself on a deserted isle for a while outside of, she would still spare her criminal record. Just go to some fucking island somewhere and throw a few bottles of water, something like Tom Hanks on Castaway. You can quit that smoking habit real quick right there. But these are the 10 ones that I came up with. If you got other ones out there, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. But as always, we're closing out with the one. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, not sugarcoat, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality. And I'm out.